Welcome back, my friends, to the Lo-Fi Lounge. I'm Chris LeRoy. Wait, I shouldn't look at what you're doing. It makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Welcome back, my friends. Welcome back, my friends, to the Lo-Fi Lounge.
Man, if it had been for love, would have been gone like a wayward wind. If it had been for love, nobody knows it better than me. I would be wishing I was free if it hadn't been, or hadn't been for love. For cold walls against my will, at least I know she's lying still. For cold walls and no parole, Lord have mercy on my soul. Never would have gone to that side of town if it hadn't been for love. Never would have had the mind to track it down if it hadn't been for love. Never would have loaded up a 44, put myself behind the jailhouse door if it hadn't been for love. I'll let it. Walk the walls against my will. At least I know she's lying still. Walk the walls and no parole. Lord have mercy on my soul.
This is Taylor Bias, reading my poem, I Begin the Day Thinking, after Frida Ipum. I begin the day thinking the day could do without me. The ice outside glitters around my car's tires like a pageant dress. Only digital utterances between myself and the world for at least a week. The last time he visited, my friend noted the lack of natural light in my downstairs apartment, the posthumous gray bleeding into the mood, aught of light in the bedroom due to the blackout curtains. But sometimes the day heckles with its high-pitched sun and melting snow. Some days I lay in the morgue of darkness, hyper alone, and the sunlight, so audacious, paints the color back onto my cheeks. About this poem. This poem is one of many attempts to write about depression and the small things that can sometimes pull us out of its depths. My apartment doesn't get much sun, and around the time I wrote this poem, there had been weeks when I didn't venture outside and lived in mostly darkness. And then some mornings, the sun would get through a slit in my blackout curtains, and I would remember what it was like to be outside. And everything was okay, if only for the moment.
On November 30th, 1963, the Beach Boys played the Municipal Auditorium in downtown San Bernardino. The event was the first Channel 18 Saturday night bandstand dance. The Beach Boys shared the bill with fellow surf music bands the Astronauts from Boulder, Colorado, and the Torquays from the IE. Also appearing was a cool jazz group, the Dave Pell Octet. On the day of the dance, the Beach Boys received the front page treatment on the San Bernardino Daily Sun newspaper's City section. On New Year's Eve 1963, the Beach Boys played the grand opening of the Cinnamon Cinder, an alcohol-free young adults nightclub in San Bernardino. Fred Vail held various positions within the Beach Boys organization. He accompanied them when they played the Cinnamon Cinder. About that night, Vail said, "On New Year's Eve, we drove out to San Bernardino for a performance at Teen Club the Cinnamon Cinder. I was with Carl Wilson in his shiny new 1964 Grand Prix Pontiac. The boys finished their set shortly before midnight, and Carl and I left for Hawthorne. As we drove west, KFWB was counting down the hits, and as we approached the midnight hour, the jock introduced the #1 song of the Southland for 1963. Yep, Surfing USA. Carl and I let out a scream I'm sure to this day they heard all across Riverside County and clear to Hawthorne." In 1964, the Beach Boys continued having a good relationship with IE radio station KMEN. In October, Brian Wilson and Mike Love were in the studio cutting radio promos. Among them was one for Cayman.
Cayman, Purdue.
KMEN, take one.
And this is Brian Wilson. How are all the Caymen doing these days? We haven't seen you in quite a while. Oh, wait a minute. That's a personalized one, too. Should we say something about we'll be back soon, I hope?
Well, they were one of the first, too.
Yeah,
so
okay, yeah, right. And
the guys who gave us our start.
And this is Brian Wilson thanking KMEN, one of the first radio stations ever to play a Beach Boy record. You've been so great to us in the past, and thanks for playing our brand new record, Dance, Dance, Dance.
Okay, except they say K-Man all the time.
Yeah, okay, K-Man.
That's all right.
Okay, I'll do it again. Yeah. This will be the final one on K-Man.
Take 9.
And this is Brian Wilson thanking K-Man, one of the first radio stations ever to play a Beach Boy record. You've been so great to us in the past, and thanks very much for playing our brand new record, Dance, Dance, Dance.
By 1964, the Beach Boys were touring nationally, but with no IE concerts. On a December 23rd flight to begin a U.S. tour, Brian Wilson suffered an anxiety attack and returned to L.A. He would not tour again with the group until the mid-1970s. But even without Brian Wilson, the Beach Boys continued touring. For a short time, Glenn Campbell took his place on the road. Fast forwarding to March 16, 1973, the Beach Boys played in the gym at the University of California, Riverside. The 8 p.m. show was a sellout, so it was decided to add a second show at 10:30 p.m. Sun-Telegram staff writer Steve Cooper's review of the concert was mixed. The Beach Boys' vocals were praised, and their live performance was called perfection. However, the venue was panned for its acoustics. More disturbing was the conduct of some concert goers. The review reported, "Most of the night the audience shouted for oldies, and scattered booing greeted some new songs." On December 28, 1974, the Beach Boys returned to the Swing Auditorium for the first time since 1963. The concert was a sellout with over 7,000 fans, but the band faced an issue that would plague them for the rest of their career. In a review by Sun-Telegram staff writer John Weeks, he quoted concert goer Tina Alvarez of San Bernardino as saying, "I just hope they do a lot of their old stuff. I don't have any of their new albums, but I think I have all of the old ones. Those are the best." From the 1970s forward, the Beach Boys were, perhaps unfairly, considered by many to be just an oldies act, expected to do nothing more than to grind out all the old hits. From 1976 to 1982, Brian Wilson resumed touring with the Beach Boys. However, there were no IE appearances. After 1982, he again quit the road. By the late 1990s, both of Brian's brothers, Dennis and Carl, had passed away, and Al Jardine stepped away from the group. But the band persevered and continued to tour, but only with Mike Love and Bruce Johnston as longtime members. In the mid-1980s, Brian Wilson met Melinda Ledbetter. They married in 1995, and she eventually became Brian's manager. Many credit her with bringing Brian out of his shell and back into creating music and performing. In 2012, the 5 surviving members of the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson, David Marks, Mike Love, Bruce Johnston, and Al Jardine, reunited for a 50th anniversary tour. For the Beach Boys to put aside their creative, financial, and personal differences made it possible for them to treat their fans to one last group reunion tour. For their last Inland Empire appearance with Brian Wilson, the Beach Boys played the Fantasy Springs Special Events Center in Indio on Saturday, May 26, 2012. Of the Beach Boys' early years, group member Mike Love told Press Enterprise columnist Vanessa Franco, "We'd go to radio stations. The DJs would put on dances. Kids would come. Because they made some money with us, they'd play us night and day. We did that all over the place the first couple years of our existence. In terms of promotion, it used to be record hops and radio station visits." As of mid-2025, there are now only 4 surviving Beach Boys that were band members in the 1960s. Bruce Johnston, Mike Love, David Mark, and Al Jardine. Mike Love retains the legal right to tour as the Beach Boys. To date, he and Bruce Johnston continue to appear using that name. Like this outdoor concert held at the University of California, Riverside Homecoming 2022 near the UCR Bell Tower. David Marks and Al Jardine are not a part of the current touring version of the Beach Boys, but they still occasionally make concert appearances using their own names. However, there are plenty of hardcore fans that feel it's not the Beach Boys without the brothers Wilson, Brian, Carl, and Dennis.
Look at him go! See what he did! Here comes the winner, a checkerboard kid! He's got what it takes. He's supercharged.
Supercharged, that's me. I start each day the checkerboard way. Checkerboard, yes sirree.
For a good morning, a good morning, you gotta check out with checkerboard. Checkerboard cereal, super good.
Make you feel super, super good.
So check out with checkerboard, and a good morning to you.
Good morning.
flowers and decay were old tigers sleeping in the sun, dreaming of the hunt. We were hunters once, wild and free, before the city life waged slavery, familiar to our gods, northern in our ways. Gray Stockholm housing blocks, the wet cement, the grimy city clock, bright plastic seats on the empty tram, shuffle off to work. Staring at the screen, the key clicks sound, the endless drudgery. Push back the chair, out into the hall, exit to the stair. Laugh and smoke a cigarette. She whispers close, they haven't tamed us yet. Watch from the roof, dirty seagulls fly 100 feet below.
This is Morris, your lo-fi time machine tour guide. Today, Chris tells me he has set the time machine for October of 2018. Monks of Doom were on tour that month and visited the former Cha-Cha's in Santa Cruz, known for a long time now as Moe's Alley. It was a Wednesday night, there was video, there was audio, there were monks. There was a big birthday party for one of our good friends. There was a drinking glass solo from another. It was a good time. Versus Montana was the first Monk song to appear on vinyl, and it was the first song of that night's concert. It's also a nice intro to this week's Lo-Fi Lounge episode, so welcome. It's a great introduction to the divine madness of the Monks of Doom. So Chris, please push the big Paisley button, and let's go then now. All right, until we're back at this time, I will see you next time, last time. Yeah, look it up, it's true. Later.
All right, crazy people. All right,
Santa Cruz.
Welcome to the Monks of Doom origin story.
And I always love you, as long as there are stars above you. You never need to doubt it, I'll make you so sure about it. God only knows what I'd be without you. God only knows what I'd be without you. God only knows what I'd be without you.